at the zoo. I do believe it. I do believe it's true. It's a light and tumble journey from the east side to the park. Just a fine and fancy ramble to the zoo. But you can take a crosstown bus if it's raining or it's cold, and the animals will love it if you do. If you do now. Something tells me it's all happening at the zoo.
Hey, you know you got niggas behind bars there?
I do believe it.
Me too.
I do believe it's true. The monkeys stand for honesty, giraffes are insincere, and the elephants are kindly, but they're dumb.
You niggas, right?
Orangutans are skeptical of changes in their cages, and the zookeeper is very fond of rum. Zebras are reactionaries, antelopes are missionaries, pigeons locked in secrecy, and hamsters turn on frequently. What the gas you like to come and see at the zoo? At the zoo? At the zoo?
All right, giving all praises to the Most High. Brothers, how y'all doing? Sisters, how are y'all? All praises. And brothers and sisters online, we pray all is well with you yourselves. You brothers are familiar with the Eugenics tree? You've seen it before? All right, all right. How many? Okay, who can tell me what the word eugenics means? The word eugenics, what does it mean?
Yeah, it means good genes.
Good genes, yes, so good birth. Good genes, good birth. What is it really, what's really behind that? Does that mean they want black people to have good genes?
Nah.
What is it about?
Population control.
Population control, give me a little more. You're not telling me something.
Yeah, eugenics is their way of determining who's worthy to live. Like they say that the so-called Negroes and Latinos are unworthy. There's a woman by the name of Margaret Sangler who's real big on eugenics, and they believe that those of our people of the 12 tribes of Israel are not worthy to be counted as productive members of society.
Very good, I like that. Y'all know Ebola's in the country? It was only a matter of time. But hey, what happened to the cure they had? Now it don't work. Or it don't work because more black people got it. Y'all got to see the conniving evil behind your friend. Now, Jonah, you had your hand up. You was going to say something?
They didn't make it plain. Eugenics is white supremacy, straight up.
I like that. I like that. Eugenics is white supremacy. Now, that's what the brothers were saying, but they said a whole lot of stuff. He just got to this, right to the point, white supremacy. Get rid of nigga genes. You Latinos, you get rid of them. That's it. Yes, this young man right here. Let me hear what you're going to say.
Shalom. And another thing is that they use different types of instruments like genealogy, politics to draw us out and destroy us.
Okay, you went deep. The brother said they use various, give me a word, methods or agencies to push their eugenics, white supremacy, to destroy our people. Now, what I want y'all to look at, zoom in on the bottom. Let me look. Okay, do y'all see the bottom, second from the bottom? Starts with an H right there. History. Y'all see the word history, right? So you got to ask yourself, well, what do you mean history? How is history used in terms of eugenics, white supremacy? Very easy. Okay. Caucasian / Edomite historians have lied about our history from the beginning for centuries. They have not told us the truth of who we are as a people. They have not told us our national origins, where did the slave ships, various places, ports they came from. They have not told us that. They have not told us the length of the length and amount of atrocities they have committed against our people. They have not told us the full truth. That's history for you. Neither have they told us their secret plans, like the brother was talking about, the 1/3 of our people being destroyed through population control. Get me Matthew chapter 10. This is what I want y'all to see. I want y'all to see this thing here. Matthew chapter 10 and verse 26. Now again, when we go over these classes are strictly based upon biblical truth. It has nothing to do with personal hatred at all. I want to put that out there because people get confused. Again, these classes have nothing to do with any form or fashion of personal hatred, but rather biblical truth. You're going to find out as you learn this Bible and teach this Bible, one trick Caucasians and other nations have to stop you from teaching. They throw out a key word. What's that word, brothers? Racist! Because when you talk about, guess what? When you talk about the atrocities done against black history and Latino history, you're also revealing the atrocities that Caucasians did to us. So they realize that they look awful bad. Watch this.
Matthew chapter 10, verse 26. Fear them not, therefore, for there is nothing covered that shall not be revealed.
There's nothing covered historically that shall not be revealed. Go ahead.
And hid that shall not be known.
And hid that shall not be known.
What I tell you in darkness, that speak ye in light.
So Christ said, what I tell y'all in darkness, meaning in secret, I want y'all to proclaim these words, what I'm teaching you, aloud before everybody. Now, I'm going to show you something that's been hidden. Get me the Jim Crow question. Okay, right here. Question of the month. Alligator bait. Now, Captain Isaac, you brothers went to a museum. What was the man's name? And what's the name of the video?
It's called Lest We Forget Museum in Philly, and it's on YouTube. You just type in gator bait and you'll see it.
Gator bait. You see the little poster there? So there's a little African with a little black baby, an alligator, and it said licorice drops. It was a candy. Everybody, oh, that's so cute. That was so cute. But there was a history behind this that only recently became revealed. Okay. Question. I am currently involved in a campaign here against a fast food chain called Daisy's, who has an alligator bait picture on the wall of one of its franchises. I wrote to the vice president of the franchise, and his response was that each restaurant may have what they want on the wall. It's American art. The fast food chain has a 50s USA theme to it. In the mail, I explained the background of this image, that it is demeaning, horrible, and also that it may have historic background too. This is why I write to you. You have a very serious sight. Were babies ever used as bait? Now, let's get the answer. Answer A, answer. It isn't really a question of whether African American babies, translation Israelite babies, were used as alligator bait, but the question is, how frequent was the practice? Do y'all see the difference? He's letting you know, he or she's letting you know, yes, it was. But the question should be, how frequent did they do it? During slavery and the Jim Crow era in the United States, African Americans were brutalized and mistreated in almost every way imaginable. Every way imaginable. You know why I want to pause there? Because we're used to, the whip, the yoke of iron, and a slave ship.
When he used the word every way imaginable, try to imagine some of the horrible things that you can do to a person. That's what they're saying. How far your mind, when it says every way imaginable, whatever you can conjure up in your mind as far as evil that you could do to someone else, they did it.
Y'all got that?
See, that's the reason you just can't let words just go past you. You got to look at the words that they put up there. Go ahead.
It says, if there was a way to kill, maim, oppress, or use an African American for any reason, it more than likely happened. If the skin from an African American might be used for leather shoes or handbags, see they got a link, see human leather, then pretty much all atrocities were possible and probable. Now, when you follow the link, they let you know that they did use our skin for leather, handbags, and shoes. But they will not teach you that in your school system. Oh, the white man loves us so much. They're going to teach us everything. Okay.
They said it happened to the so-called Jews. There were some records where they said that happened to the so-called Jews, but they never told you that happened to you.
Exactly. Exactly. And that's what they're saying here. It says African-American babies being used as alligator bait really happened. And it happened to real people. It doesn't seem to have been a widespread practice, but it did happen. Now, I want you to see, notice it says it doesn't seem to have been a widespread practice. In your notes, put a question mark next to that. It's going to address that later on. Go ahead.
Before you get off the page, go up to the beginning, the thing with the American. You see the part where it says, I wrote to the vice president, right, I'm going to get to that. It says, I wrote to the vice president of the franchise, and his response, I can read it, don't, because that messed me up, was that each restaurant may have what it want on the wall. It's American art. So they're making a point that you so-called black people, we don't care about you. This is American art. Well, aren't black people supposed to be Americans? Supposed to be. So you understand what I'm saying? They're saying to hell with that. This is about American art, and wherever we put you niggas at, that's where you're just going to be at. So don't even bother with it, because American art justifies us doing what we're going to do to you.
Right. Now, notice it says that this practice occurred during slavery and the Jim Crow era. When did Jim Crow end? In 1960s. I want y'all to keep that in mind. Jim Crow ended in the 60s during the Civil Rights campaign. Now go up to where we were at. It's hard to process the thinking that could lead a person to actually use a live human baby as bait for an alligator. That is why the objects in the Jim Crow Museum are so important. They help tell the story of a society that defined African Americans as subhuman, meaning less than human, by portraying them as savage and worthless creatures. It says, it is hard to process the thinking that could lead a person to actually use a live human baby as bait for an alligator. That is why the objects in the Jim Crow Museum are so important. They help tell the story of a society that defined African Americans as subhuman.
That defined African Americans as subhumans. You remember, I would always talk about imagery. In order to be able to do, like I said, it is hard to process the thinking that could lead a person to do such things. It becomes easier to do things to people that are considered, that you have in your mind, that are less than you. If you have an education, so you can understand, when you have an educational system that teaches that we are, 3/5 of a man, we are not to be, we are lower, we're like dogs and all of that. Once you get the people to perceive you on those levels, it becomes easy to disrespect them. It becomes easy for them to do all of these atrocity things to you, because they don't feel like they're actually persecuting people. Y'all follow what I'm saying? That's the purpose of education. That's what the education has done to the people around you, so you can understand. That's the reason why when they kick you or they mistreat you, they don't feel like they've done anything against you.
Right.
That's the importance of imagery. That's the reason why we have to tell our story.
That's why when a black man or Latin man gets killed, what is the first thing the police do?
Shalom, they portray him in a negative light.
Right. They pull up whatever dirt you did. You could have been 8 years old. They're going to pull it up and put that in the media, so everybody sees you as an animal, subhuman. That's how they see us. Now.
And it justifies their action. That's the point.
Exactly. Now, from right here, it says, if people are indoctrinated over and over again with items, images, objects, and practices that devalue the humanity of African Americans, then practices like, watch this, African Dodger, human zoos, write that down, human zoos, and alligator bait become possible. Now, as we go on, what you gonna say?
Yeah, what he just read was what I just said earlier. Y'all pick that up. Once you devalue the people, you can treat them like garbage.
Exactly. In 1908, the Washington Times reported that a keeper at the New York Zoological Garden baited alligators with pickaninnies. Pickaninnies is an old slave word for little niggas. That's what they call little black boys and girls. Pickaninnies. Baited alligators with pickaninnies out of their winter quarters. In the article, 2 small colored children happened to drift through the reptile house among the throng of visitors, and they were pressed into service. So this is at a zoo. It's wintertime. They put 2 little black kids in there. Remember, it's winter. The alligators don't come up. But what do babies do when they're cold and uncomfortable? They cry, they make noise. So the alligators is what's going on here. That's what it means where it says, 2 small colored children happened to drift through the reptile house among the throng of visitors. And they, the alligators, were pressed into service, meaning eat. The alligators wobbled out as quickly as they could after the ebony mites, who darted around the tank just as the pursuing monsters fell with grunts of, what is that word, chagrin, into the, ate them and went into the water. The alligators were coaxed into their summer quarters by plump little Africans. The headline in the September 21st, 1923 Oakland Tribune reads, "Pickaninny bait lures voracious gator to death. And mother gets her baby back in perfect condition." Also, too, now that part right there is a lie. We're going to hit on that too. In the article, T.W. Valeris chronicles the entire process of using black babies as bait and how these little black morsels, meaning morsels of food, are more than glad to be led to the sacrifice. Do you hear the wording? That the babies are glad to be led to the sacrifice.
Do y'all listen to the words that they're using, morsels? That's what I mean when they devalue. Just so you can just get a quick understanding, imagine referring to white kids as morsels and bait and stuff like that. This country would be outraged. Because the difference is that they pay attention to making sure that their image is upheld while we allow our image to be devalued.
Right. Valerius is quick to point out that the babies are brought out of the waters alive and whole and come out wet and laughing. Now, all this is a trick to get black mothers to bring their black little babies to these demons. And it says they give you $2. Right, where is that part? Right up there, second line, it says also $2. You get your baby back and they give you $2. They looking for dumb black women. These little black morsels are more than glad to be led to the sacrifice and do their part in lurking the big Florida gators to their fate without suffering so much as a scratch. Valerius is quick to point out that the babies are brought out of the water alive and whole and come out wet and laughing. And that there is nothing terrible about it, except that it is spelling death for the alligators. In a strange twist, Valerius reports on the hunters' attempts to rationalize the motivation of the alligators to jeopardize every hope of life for a live baby, and in the matter of color, the additional information is vouchsafed that black babies, in the estimation of the alligators, are far more refreshing, as it were, than white ones. So black babies are more tasty than white babies. That's what alligators go after them. The article describes the process of placing the babies near the alligators' haunts, meaning where they live or sleep, with the hunters hidden behind the brush with their rifles. When the baby attracts the alligator, meaning the baby's crying, wiggling, crying, screaming, the gator, and it exposes his head and forequarters, the hunters shoot the gator and claim their prize. And just in case someone happens to care about the welfare of the baby, the reader is assured that Florida alligator hunters do not ever miss their targets. After the baby is returned to its mother, she is paid the set price of $2. Now they got a little drawing there. Look at the little drawing on the side there. That's the mother with the baby. Now I don't know how many of y'all watch Wild Kingdom and see how fast an alligator comes up out of the water. See, I watch them shows. You got to get a gator, when he jumps out that water, you better be quick with the gun. Go back, I'm gonna jump down. Okay, this event was also reported by the Atlanta Independent. Now, when y'all go home, these articles are online. You can read the actual articles with these ads So it's not make-believe, because I checked it. Okay, this event was also reported by the Atlanta Independent American Standard Negro newspaper of character, circulation, and opinion a few weeks later. Babies used. So black people printed that thing. One of the most disturbing articles about using babies as alligator bait was reprinted in numerous United States papers from 1888 until 1911. This article refers to an advertisement in Ceylon, modern-day Sri Lanka newspapers. Babies wanted for crocodile bait will be returned alive. The whole process is described in detail and painted as a harmless way for the Ceylonese mothers to earn a small consideration for the use of their dark brown infants with curling toes to attract crocodiles. In July 1968, the Los Angeles Times ran an article about the great fireballer Bob Gibson. Gibson talked about the struggle to get respect as a baseball player and as a man. He recounted a story from his rookie year in Columbus, Georgia, about a fan who calls him alligator bait. What year is this? 1968. Gibson laughed it off, but then he was told by some local folk that Negro youngsters were actually used in baiting alligators. That's where Negroes stood in Columbus, said Gibson, and went on to talk about the struggles he was currently enduring. Okay, now this is an ad, see the bottom left with the babies? While actual incidents likely were rare, images and objects showing caricatured African-American children as alligator bait were widespread. An article in January 20th, 1900 issue of the Washington Times reflected on the phenomenal success of a photograph-style alligator bait. It told how the photograph got its name, its popularity from coast to coast, and reported that sales from this one negative have reached nearly $5,000.
I want to ask a question. You kept seeing the words harmless. There's this thing with the alligator, our children being used as alligator bait, and they return them back to their mothers harmless. Nothing happened to them. They don't have a scratch, this and that and the other. Let's say out of 100 babies, let's say there was only 100, listen to me carefully. Let's say there were only, in worldwide history, just say there were 100 of our babies that were used for alligator bait, and every last one of them came back without a scratch, nick, no cut, no nothing. And they came back, as the white man said, harmless. I want to ask someone out there to tell me what other harm comes from that kind of subjection. I want to see if y'all think it. Because the white man said there's no harm at all. My question is it truly harmless? What is the effects of, because you've indicated that there is some harm, although the white man said there is no harm. So give me an example of how that that point that you're making about the harm, how does it translate or seep into our reality today?
Mentally, it would tell you that you're not worth much, but just to be baited for animals.
Exactly. I can. All right, Jonah, and then I'm gonna give it back to the elder. You're hitting it. That's it. That's it. Come on.
Also, those babies could be post-traumatic from that experience.
That's what I want
to
to
get. So they could grow up crazy as hell, and no one would know why. And then you figure out, you know.
Right. Not only the babies, but what about the people that are watching that learn about it? The older children, the post-trauma and these things here. That's what I'm saying. That's the reason why we're all crazy, because of things like this that you were told was harmless.
Exactly. Now, here's a video regarding what we just read.
Black bodies swinging in the southern breeze. Strange fruit.
These are postcards. Look at the years, 1940.
From the poplar trees.
Over the years, I've been collecting artifacts. As a matter of fact, I've been collecting little pencils like this. I've seen alligators on jars. I've seen alligator ashtrays, and I've seen them depicted with kids in it. And I was wondering why the children would be there. As a matter of fact, this particular pencil sharpener, this is a pencil sharpener or a pencil holder with a black head of a baby sitting out of its mouth. I didn't pay any attention. I have been collecting for quite a few years, and I have the posters and things like that about different things. And then one day I was down in Florida. I'd gone down with my wife and I took a trip for myself off to the wild blue yonder, going out to hunt artifacts. And in my quest to hunt artifacts, I came upon a pawn shop in Sanford, Florida. In the pawn shop was a gentleman who owned it. They went and got him and told him I was there and I wanted to buy some of the shackles he had hanging around the walls. I asked him, could I buy them? He said no. He didn't want to sell anything. He just wanted me to see it. Then we began to talk. And I asked him, I said, look, please let me buy something. I got to take something from here. He says, no. He says, I don't want to sell anything. He said, but I'm going to the back and I'll sit down. Meanwhile, he came out and came back out and he began to talk to me. He said, you know, he said, you probably don't know this. He said, but years ago, he said, my grandfather, before he died, told me of the things they would do. He said he would go down. He said his grandfather said they would go down and they would take babies with them. I said, what do you mean babies? He says, well, let me tell you. He said the slaves who had babies, they would steal the babies during the course of the day, sometimes when the mothers weren't washing. I said, what do you mean babies? I said, you mean babies like 5 or 6 years old? He says, no. These babies, some would be infants, some would be a year old. He said some would be toddlers. He said they would grab these children and take them down to the swamp and leave them in pens like little chicken coops. They would go down there at night, take these babies and tie them up because they hunted the big bull alligators. These big bull alligators were not raised on farms. They were in the wild. These alligators would weigh 600, 700, 800 pounds. Those are the ones they wanted. They would skin them, make the wallets, get the meat, do different things with them. He said, but what they were doing was tie them up, put a rope around their neck and around their torso, around here, and tie it tight. He said, the baby, I said, well, what would the babies be doing? He said, well, my grandfather said they'd be screaming. He said, what would you do? He said, just let them scream. He said, what they would do, it would help them to chum the water. He said, when they would throw the babies in tied to this rope, he said, in a matter of minutes, he said, the alligators were on them. He said, the alligators would clamp his jaws on that child. As a matter of fact, once he clamped on him, he was really swallowed. You couldn't see anything but the rope. And we would pull the alligator in and tie his nose and hit him in the head with an axe, a pickaxe. He said we would then drag him to the shore. We'd drag him to the shore and leave him lay, and we would do it again, maybe 2 or 3 times a night. He said, I said, so what do you mean? He said, well, yeah, they were taking these babies and killing them for alligator bait. I said, so all these things I've been collecting, are really, really something that I can really talk about and say they're of a truth by what you say? He said, I'm telling you. He said, nobody wants to talk about it. He said, I'm only telling you because you're here. I may never hear from you again. He said, but these things actually depict the acts that they did to slave babies back in the Bayou country and down the South. They did this. They hunted alligators with these babies. That's why they call alligator bait.
Well, all righty then.
So much for harmless.
Exactly.
So much for baby not getting a scratch. That's because they never saw him again.
Exactly. Isaac, give me Leviticus 26 and 22.
The book of Leviticus, chapter 26, verse 22. I will also send wild beasts among you, which shall rob you of your children.
So we read that in the Bible and don't really understand what it's talking about. Now we see, that's why Christ said there's nothing hidden that shall not be revealed. A lot of us, we think so much of our slave master. He would never do such a thing to us. God says, you have no idea. Read that again, Isaac.
I will also send wild beasts among you, which shall rob you of your children and destroy your cattle and make you few in number.
So during slavery, these are the things. Not only did it happen in Jerusalem and when we were captive, but here in America, they used us as gator bait, our children as gator bait. Give me Deuteronomy 32 and 24.
Deuteronomy chapter 32, verse 24. They shall be burnt with hunger and devoured with burning heat and with bitter destruction. I will also send the teeth of beasts upon them.
See that? I will also send the teeth of beasts upon them. Now them there's us, the Israelites. Was that it?
With the poison of serpents of the dust.
So the Most High prophesied to us when we came out of Egypt with Moses. If you break my laws, I'm going to send wild beasts against you. And that's exactly what happened. That is exactly what happened. From there, give me Deuteronomy 28 and verse 48.
The book of Deuteronomy, chapter 28 and verse 48. Therefore shalt thou serve thine enemies, which the Lord shall send against thee, in hunger and in thirst and in nakedness and in want of all things.
What does want of all things mean? And want of all things. The word want means what, brothers? Lack. So we got to serve him in lack of all things. So if we lack what? We have to do what? Read it again, Isaac.
Therefore shalt thou serve thine enemies, which the Lord shall send against thee, in hunger and in thirst and in nakedness and in want of all things. And he shall put a yoke of iron upon thy neck until he have destroyed thee.
So again, my question is, it says we must serve him in want of all things. Give me some examples of all things we have to serve this man for to get. Only Sean has an idea, a clue? Baruch.
We'll be serving him in one of our medical and the medical that we need for our families. And,
okay, so if we want medicine, we got to serve him.
And,
what else?
And food.
Food?
Food stamps.
Okay.
Serving them in school and everything that we're doing right now.
Okay,
actually.
you said school. I want to pause there. School. Thank you. Have a seat. If you want to learn your history, who you got to go to? You got to go to your white man, your friendly neighborhood white man. Now, let's take a look at the next video, please. Her name is Dr. Joy DeGru. I believe that's how you pronounce it. This sister, good, nice sister, she's a professor.
Do you see much in the way of black history being made part of the curriculum, or is it an elective as opposed to being a required?
Well, you have Black History Month. What do you people want? I think it's a notion. I think black history and the studying of black history is sort of like a notion. Wouldn't that be nice? What if we did? What if we did have black history and we studied it? I don't believe that it is taken seriously in terms of curricular materials. And in fact, I think it's avoided. Most places I go, they just don't see the relevance of it. You know, again, it's something like, I had a recent experience at the opening of the visitor center at the African burial ground. You realize that those bones rewrote history. They really did. Because they told on us, in the sense that, you know, when we think of enslavement or slavery, you think about the South, those people in the South. All 13 colonies had slavery, including New York. And so, are they going to change the textbooks to be reflective of that? Or are they going to say, oh yeah, and by the way, there's a burial ground, as though it is a separate experience, an anomaly that we don't have to take any real focus on? Do you see what I'm saying? If you look at that burial ground, you learn how we lived and how we died, which is not recorded in the halls of universities, you see. So that requires that we take that information and then infuse it into education. And if you're asking me if they're going to do that, certainly not. Even the information we knew prior to that has not been infused. It's not been infused. The whole period of enslavement, the Middle Passage, the Walk of Sorrow, the numbers that died en route to the slave castles. Do you think they're going to infuse that into our curricular materials? Or that we are going to insist that it happen?
There are those who say, well, let's put that behind us. That was in the olden days, and things are different now. Look, you even have an African American as president.
Yeah,
so
also,
let's put that behind us.
Also hear stuff like, and what about Oprah? and what about all those athletes? See? And what you have to do, you know, and again, I guess sometimes people respond emotionally. I don't. I kind of respond very pragmatically to that. And I ask them, with the advent of the election of a black president, if you will, did somehow the overrepresentation of African Americans and Latinos in the criminal justice system, did they go away? Did it even decrease? As a result of the advent of this great historical moment, has there been a change in health disparities? In the poverty index? Has there been, do you see what I'm saying? So it's almost like a nonsensical thing to say to me, because those institutions that have historically been racist and biased and oppressive continue. The federal government said it twice themselves. They said, oh yeah, we've oppressed you for a long time during enslavement. We oppressed you after enslavement, hence Jim Crow, and we continue to oppress you. That's why they apologized. However, it was an apology that was empty because it had no meat to it. So yeah, we oppressed you before. We're going to oppress you some more, and we're going to try not to oppress you as badly. But essentially, there's no meat to it. There's no... There's nothing to suggest that change has happened. And so I think for people who want to quickly put it behind them, let's get to that point. We don't need to look at that. And I've looked at that phenomenon. Or why don't you leave? They don't tell anyone else to do that. They don't tell Jews, just forget about that Holocaust. Don't speak about it anymore. It's just useless and it's ridiculous. Don't, just why even? They don't do that. You certainly are going to tell Asian people to do that. Why do they tell us to do it? And I'll tell you my assessment of why that is. Because when we pull back the covers on us, we pull back the covers on other folks. So we rewrite European history as well. We rewrite our perceptions of those founding fathers and our perception of our inherent humanity, our willingness to embrace and our inclusivity, as it were. Somehow it throws a rock into that glass house, and you begin to realize that things weren't as they were written in the text. Not just about you, that black person, but about you, that white person. That's where the rubber meets the road. And we're not getting ready to let Timmy and Lil Sue find out what folks were really about and what they really did. That's where you're going to see the resistance and the pushback, because it's not about you seeing you. It's about everyone seeing everyone.
Now she heavy. She heavy. That's it. I don't know about you single brothers. I think she married, but you want a sister like that. Her name is Dr. Joy DeGruy. D-E-G-R-U-Y.
Yeah, she's married. I've actually known about this woman for a while. She was also known as Joy Leary, and
Right.
she's married to a black man, and she made it clear, I love my black man. That's what she says.
You see, you got to look for sisters like that.
So I've been checking this woman out for years. Okay.
So now what she said, give me Psalms 58, verse 3 to 5. Like, remember we went over that last week, because they said, oh, slavery was non-existent up here in the north. That is a cotton picking lie. Where'd that expression come from? The cotton picking lie. That's a lie. All those, and that's only one burial ground they unearthed and got caught because people saw it. How many more did they not? That they built churches over and courthouses over, World Trade Center over. What you gonna say?
No, cotton picking lies. Deemed back to the slaves was you lied to how much you picked. You lied.
Damn. See that? So she said they're not bound to, they don't want little Peggy or little Sue or Timmy find out their true history. Why? Why? Because they portray themselves as the Christians and the Jews of the earth, God's holy people. But when you start to uncover our true history, that's why they want to romanticize slavery now. They want to take it out of the schools. Who had their hand up? Somebody, yes.
Yeah, because in school they talk about George Washington as
a great man.
Yeah, he chopped down the cherry tree, never told
he
a
had
lie.
wooden teeth.
But then you hear about how he was the village destroyer.
Yes.
And now, so it's just amazing.
And he has a multitude of slaves. Not just him, all them demons. Every last one of them.
Psalms 58.
So you want to learn history from your enemies. Here's what God said.
Psalms 58, verse 3. The wicked are estranged from the womb. They go astray as soon as they be born, speaking lies.
What do they speak as soon as they born?
Lies.
Lies. So they got little babies born, crying, lying as they cry. Well, lie, lie, lie. Read that again.
The wicked are estranged from the womb. They go astray as soon as they be born, speaking lies.
Right, because they'll tell all that gay debate thing that was a long time ago. We just read gay debate went all through the Jim Crow era, which ended in the 1960s. But then, oh, that's a long time ago. Don't talk about it. And those of us that are dumb will go, Yeah, that is a long time ago. So, like she said, why don't you tell us so-called Jews don't talk about the Holocaust of 1945? So we can't talk about Jim Crow in the 1960s? 1968, we can't talk about that? That's how they play us dumb, as a dumb race of people. And we fall for it ever so often. Where we at, Captain?
Verse 4.
Come on.
Their poison is like the poison of a serpent.
Their poison is their doctrines, their philosophies, their teachings. It's like poison. Go ahead.
They are like the deaf adder that stoppeth her ear.
Because they never hear the truth. God is comparing them to a poisonous snake who can't hear nothing. Here you're trying to tell truth to them. They don't hear nothing you say. Yeah, yeah. Where we at?
Verse 5. Which will not hearken to the voice of charmers.
You got these brothers, the voice of charmers. Oh, we can save them. You got some Israelite camps that say we can save Edomites. Don't speak evil of them. That's wrong. Just tell them how righteous they are and good, and let's bring them into the kingdom. The Bible says, what was that verse again?
Which will not hearken to the voice of charmers.
That will not hearken to the voice of charmers. When you go throughout history in the past, every movement that rose up and allowed Edomites to infiltrate to bring them in, where are they today? They all collapsed, fell apart, were destroyed. That's why they made a joke about it in that movie. What's the movie with Eddie Griffin? Undercover Brother. They said, bring in the black man's kryptonite. And everybody goes, the black man's kryptonite? Then you got the white she-devil with the long, flowy, blonde hair, tight leather pants on, and all you brothers, your tongue was out. And she was bent to destroy everything. And they did a joke on it, but that was done to the black revolutionary movements and Latin movements during the 60s and 50s. They put the white woman in it. She was the secret weapon. Where we at, Captain?
Verse 5.
Come on.
Which will not hearken to the voice of charmers, charming never so wisely.
Charming never so wisely. So God is saying, you just like a snake charmer cannot charm a rattlesnake or an adder, you brothers and you sisters, you cannot charm the so-called white man. Oh, how do you know they're the wicked in that verse? How do you know that? Give me that Malachi 1:4 to let you know who the wicked is.
Right. While he's getting that, that's just letting you know you can't marry them. No matter how many you let into your family, no matter how many of them you let beat you up, kick you and all of that, that's not going to change them because that's the way they're made. They're made to be that way.
The book of Malachi, chapter 1 and verse 4. Whereas Edom saith.
We're talking about the Edomites. The Edomites are all so-called Caucasians of today. Read it again.
Whereas Edom saith, we are impoverished, but we will return and build the desolate places. Thus saith the Lord of hosts.
That was the Renaissance era. That's when they came and rebuilt the desolate places. Come on.
They shall build, but I will throw down.
This is the time period we're living in. God is about to throw down. Come on.
And they shall call them.
What will they call the Edomites? All the Caucasians. What would they call them?
The border of wickedness.
So now we know who the wicked are. So when we go back to Psalm 58 and verse 3, one more again.
The wicked are estranged from the womb. They go astray as soon as they be born, speaking lies. Their poison is like the poison of a serpent. They are like the deaf adder that stoppeth her ear, which will not hearken to the voice of charmers.
So y'all keep playing with that rattlesnake. You keep on playing with that cobra, that adder. Keep on trying to charm it. Oh, this is a good one right here. Okay. Yeah, all right. From there, yes.
Verse 6. Break their teeth, O God, in their mouth. Break out the great teeth of the young lions, O Lord.
I want to read something to you real quick. This happened in Jamaica. Some of you may have heard this before, others may not. There was a man from Edomite from England named Thomas Thistlewood. It was called the Derby's Dose. It was a form of torture used in Jamaica. Now he had a plantation, a sugar plantation named Egypt Plantation. And this is what he did. It says, Derby's Dose was a form of torture used in Jamaica to punish slaves who attempted to escape or commit offenses like stealing food. It says, he had a 40-year diary that this man actually kept. And it says, the runaway would be beaten, he would be salted and pickled in lime juice and bird pepper, would rub it into his or her open wounds. Another slave would defecate into the mouth of the miscreant, then he would miscreant and would be gagged for 4 or 5 hours. So one of the punishments, they would have a slave defecate into the mouth of the other slave, and they would seal his jaw shut. So he either swallowed it or he'll choke on it. So from his womb, this is who he is. And the point the elder was making concerning Edom is that what we see and what we're getting to see in these articles, Gator Bait and these things, are a small portion of what they really was doing. It's just a snippet of how demonic. These people are really, I'm telling you, they are mentally unfit, they're unstable. They are diabolical in their ways. They're evil to their core. So they would defecate in the slave's mouth and bind them.
Now, we just read in the article about anything you can imagine.
There you go. Thank you. You just got
Go ahead, say it.
That was it. Every way imaginable.
I'm sorry, the word I wanted was sadistic. They're sadistic people. They would cut the babies out of the woman's womb and step on it.
I was trying to find I was in here looking at this Black Power mixtape, and there was a statement that Stokely Carmichael made that suggests exactly what you said about Dr. Martin Luther King. He misunderstood white folks for having a conscience, and he said that was the grave mistake that Dr. King made, because he was trying to apply consciousness to a people that have no conscience.
Sirach 12 and verse 10. This goes back to Psalms about the charming never so wisely. But you got Jakes and Israelites that say, no, not to abhor an Edomite. Don't abhor them. But they abhor you to the fullest and murder and massacre you to the fullest for over 400 years. But you want to try to invite them into the body. Sirach 12 and 10.
The book of Sirach, chapter 12 and verse 10. Never trust thine enemy.
Right. Never trust your enemy. What the Lord hath made crooked, man cannot make straight. Go ahead.
For like as iron rusteth, so is his wickedness.
Meaning, as the forefathers were, their children are the same way. Nothing has changed. Now jump down to verse 13 about the charming.
Verse 13. Who will pity a charmer that is bitten with a serpent?
Who will pity a charmer that is bitten with he's a snake. He is the incarnation of the devil himself. That's who he is. He's a natural born killer. Right, read it again.
Who will pity a charmer that is bitten with a serpent?
What's the charmer do? A charmer plays the snake, he plays the flute, the snake starts dancing. But when it bites him, you can't feel sorry for him because he asked for it. Messing around with the snake. Go ahead.
Or any such as come nigh wild beasts.
Because white man is a wild beast. Go ahead.
So one that goeth to a sinner and is defiled with him in his sins, who will pity?
You can't feel sorry for the people like that. When the white man, the Native Americans, they trusted them, like Pocahontas, other instances like that, when they got destroyed, who could they blame but themselves? That's it.
That's why the snake in that part of the movie that bit the woman, that the woman went to take care of the snake was frozen in the snow. She brought the snake back in, nursed the snake back to health, and one day she went to pet the snake, and the snake bit her. And while the woman was laid dying, she said, why in the world did you bite me? I took care of you. I nursed you back to health. I fixed you up. That's what black people do to white people. Take care of them, love them and all that. Then the snake bit her. Then while the woman was laid dying, like a lot of Negroes going to die from messing with this man, she asked, the snake looked at her and said, bitch, you know I was a snake.
Give me that next article, Abiel. Okay, here's an excerpt from Cavalry Atrocities Against Indians. It says, I heard this story on a History Channel documentary. Here's another online source. His cavalry murdered, pillaged, and raped their way across Indian country in the late 1800s while he sat in the saddle and orchestrated the entire scene. His troops made coin purses from the scrotums of Indian men and ornaments for their saddle horns out of the vaginas of Indian women. It doesn't get more grotesque than that. Then they give you a link for a newspaper with the Huffington Post. So that's the article we read. Anything, you cannot imagine the evil this man has done to us. You can't imagine it. That's what we just use, the whip on the back, the yoke of iron, and the ship. It was more than that, way more than that. Like what Elder Kenai was talking about, the defecation in the mouth in Jamaica. Then sealing your mouth shut. Who thinks of stuff like that? That's some nasty, who does that? This is crazy.
As grotesque and as vicious and as vile as some of these historical acts are pointing out, our people, some of our people are still so sick that they will ignore every bit of this and still put their head under the fangs of white folks and get bit.
Give me Lamentations 2:13. You cannot compare what our people went to any other race on earth. And I'm talking about the 12 tribes. Go ahead.
The book of Lamentation, chapter 2, verse 13. What thing shall I take to witness for thee? What thing shall I liken to thee?
The word liken means compare to. What thing in this earth can you compare to the Israelites? Go ahead.
O daughter of Jerusalem.
That's the Israelites. Read.
What shall I equal to thee?
What in earth can you equal amongst the races to us of what we went through? Go ahead.
That I may comfort thee, O virgin daughter of Zion.
Right. Can you compare what we went through, the atrocities we went through, and go, look, the Chinese went through this. Comfort yourself. Now, you're not the only ones who went through this. So the prophet says, you can't equal nothing no other race went through with what we went through. Go ahead.
For thy breach is great like the sea. Who can heal thee?
So the breach in our nation is like the sea. Who can heal it? Here's the precept. Daniel. All right. Give me that Daniel 9 and 12.
The book of Daniel, chapter 9, verse 12.
Here's Daniel's going to say the same thing the prophet Jeremiah just said. Go ahead.
And he hath confirmed his words, which he spake against us, and against our judges that judged us, by bringing upon us a great evil.
So God brought upon us a great evil. Go ahead.
For under the whole heaven.
Under the whole heaven, meaning on the whole earth.
Hath not been done as hath been done upon Jerusalem.
So God is telling you, you can't compare nothing no other race went through to what happened to our people. Stop letting white people fool you and deceive you with their stupid history, their abbreviated, foolish history that has not been told of what they did to us. Watch this. Go back to Lamentations 2. Yeah, go ahead.
The elder just made a heavy point, and it takes me back to what I was thinking about earlier. When the point was made about why is it that other races don't get caught up into this mess that we get caught up into? The answer, as far as history, the answer is because the other nations do not allow white people to tell them about themselves.
Right.
They don't sit their children in front of white folks and say, teach my children their history. They teach their own kids. That's the reason why they don't suffer from the sicknesses that we suffer from. That's the reason. But like I said earlier, just a few moments ago, we will see all of this revealing history, and we will still subject our brains up underneath the fangs of white folks. I use that term fangs for a reason. Fangs are what a cobra has in his mouth to bite you. And the fangs inject poison through those teeth into whatever it sinks its teeth into, meaning your brain.
Back to Lamentations 2 and verse 14.
Lamentations 2, verse 14. Thy prophets have seen vain and foolish things for thee.
So the leaders amongst blacks and Latinos have seen lies for us. Anything white society has put forth, our leaders accept it and try to push it upon the masses of the people. That's what he's saying. Go ahead.
And they have not discovered thine iniquity.
The leaders of our people have not told us the reason we suffer atrocities is because we have sinned and broken the commandments of the one true God. Our leaders have not told us that. Come on.
To turn away thy captivity.
Because if they have told us these things, it would turn away our captivity by what? Revealing that we are the Israelites, revealing that Christ only died for our people, and allow us to work together as a nation until and wait for the second return of Christ. They have not taught us that, though. Come on.
But have seen for thee false burdens.
They have seen for us false burdens. Christmas is a false burden. Okay, why? Because every year our people spend millions of dollars on Christmas, and it's a lie. It's a lie. Birthdays is another false burden. It's a lie. We're not commanded to celebrate that. But we spend and spend and spend and spend. Thanksgiving is another burden. You have all your family come over to honor what? The destruction of the Native American Indians and the enslavement of your people. That's a false burden. It's foolishness. 4th of July. Yeah, 4th of July's. That's what it is. That's all it is. Why? It celebrates the independence of America from Britain, but the enslavement of our people. The rape, robbery, and murder of the Native American Indians, the stealing of their land, and the enslavement of the Negroes. That's what these holidays, they're false burdens, and they're reasons for banishment. Read that again.
But have seen for thee false burdens and causes of banishment.
Because by us serving and celebrating those false lies and doctrines and holidays, it causes us to be banished from the one true God. God can't use us for nothing. He says, listen, their mind is all clogged up with lies and BS. I can't use them. So what? We're banished from the coming kingdom. We're not allowed to enter in its gates.
What is the purpose of a holiday? Because if here we are, we're in America, and we are in America with our enemies. Our enemies have holidays set up, and those holidays are reminders of what they've done to get what they have.
So their holidays are based upon white supremacy.
100%. So where could you fathom any sense of having Negroes and Hispanics on the same float with white people, celebrating the same thing that the enemies are celebrating? That mathematically doesn't make sense at all. What they're celebrating is the death of you. What are you celebrating? The death of yourself? Yes.
All that pass by clap their hands at thee.
All that pass by clap their hands at thee. You ever see these tour buses that go through Harlem? If you ever meet a so-called German, because they'll let you see the book, look at those tour books, and they'll say things in the racist things like, be careful taking pictures of Negroes or niggers. They use the word easily, niggers, in their books. They say they don't like being photographs being taken of them.
All that pass by clap their hands at thee. They hiss and wag their head at the daughter of Jerusalem.
What verse you at?
Verse 15.
Go ahead.
Saying, is this the city that men call the perfection of beauty?
They say, is this because many of the people in Europe, a lot of them know that we're the Israelites. America, we're the ones dumbed down that don't know. Because over in Europe, on their cathedrals, they see images and paintings of King David and Solomon, Moses, Ezekiel, Jeremiah, and Christ as black men. Then they come over here and look at you and go, and you're walking around with your pants below your butt, and they go, is this the read that again, Captain, what verse you at?
Verse 15. All that pass by clap their hands at thee. They hiss and wag their head at the daughter of Jerusalem, saying, is this the city that men call the perfection of beauty, the joy of the whole earth?
Come on.
All thine enemies.
Watch this. All thine enemies. Come on.
Have opened their mouth against thee.
They open their mouth against thee. Us. Go ahead.
They hiss and gnash the teeth. They say, we have swallowed her up. Certainly, this is the day that we looked for. We have found, we have seen it.
So the white man has rejoiced at our destruction. When it said in verse 15, all that pass by clap their hands at thee. They hiss it. So they clapping their hands when they see it. Oh, this is the day we look for. Here's the next article. 13 shameful pictures of Europeans placing African people in human zoos. That's never been taught in your schools. That's why the first article, it talked about human zoos. Here we have a young black girl in a zoo. Let's see where it is. Let me see where this is. This is a people show in Brussels, Belgium. Well, the young black girl is fed by the white spectators. This is what they did to us. They don't teach us this in school. Some of you leave America, go to Europe and go, there are different white people over there. They're nice over there. You're insane and you don't know what the hell you're talking about. You're an idiot. Any of you that say that you're an idiot and you don't know your history. So they had us in human zoos. We were spectacle. That's why Jeremiah said they clapped their hand at us, wagged their head at us. They had this man walk around with a monkey. Congolese, now he's not a pygmy. They put that crap up there. Ota Benga was a display at the Bronx Zoo in New York City in 1906. He was forced to carry around chimpanzees and other apes. Here's another one. Let's read the bottom caption. One of the many human zoos in France. You see the white man looking through the glass. Look at the Negroes down there. So you've not been taught what the atrocities they really did to us as a people. You've not been taught that. We've been taught watered down lies. Watered down history. That's why the white historians have lied. That's why on the Eugenics, where it said history, the white man knows why they put the word history there. They've not taught the half of what they've done to us. Come on. Here's another one. Let's read the bottom caption of this. A 20-year-old girl from South Africa known as Sarah Sartaji Bartman was recruited to work in a Paris zoo because of a genetic characteristic known as steatopygia, meaning she had a big butt and breasts. Because you know the white woman is flat, she's trying to look like the black woman now. They said, look at the way this black woman is shaped. They put her on display for all white people to come by and look at her. Yeah, and black women now voluntarily do it now in rap videos. Let's go on. Okay, her protuberant buttocks and elongated labia, that's a vagina. Whites went to the zoo to look at her buttocks and other naked black women with the same shape.
You think those white men wasn't raping her? Come on. They were raping the sister.
Okay, this is one of France's many Negro villages. It was said the village would often display blacks to dehumanize them and compare them to animals. So this is in France. Je suis. I know a lot of Haitians like to go to, I learned the real French. I'm more cultured than you in Haiti. You're an idiot. I get sick when I hear some of y'all say that. I speak the real patois. I speak the real Francais. Shut up.
I gotta say something real quick. The verse you just read, surely this is the day. Read that verse again.
Lamentations 2, verse 16. All thine enemies have opened their mouth against thee. They hiss and gnash the teeth. They say, we have swallowed her up. Certainly, this is the day that we looked for.
This is the day that we looked for. I was paying attention to the places where we were going around in the video. France, Germany, Belgium and Germany, and the different areas in New York, but I want to talk about those foreign areas for a second. Surely this is the day that we waited for. Because history prior to this, a lot of y'all don't know about this, but blacks was ruling in them areas. Okay? The pictures in those museums and those castles have black faces on them as kings, as rulers. Y'all ain't listening to what I said. They don't understand nothing what I'm saying. What I'm telling you is that we were ruling in those areas. So when they said we waited to get them down in the zoo, that's what it's talking about. Read that again, Isaac.
All thine enemies have opened their mouth against thee. They hiss and gnash the teeth. They say, we have swallowed her up.
We've swallowed them up because they're not in rulership anymore. Looking at these pictures of greatness and all of that.
Certainly, this is the day that we looked for.
Certainly, this is the day that we've looked for. Now we have taken them from that greatness and luster and all of that. We've got them down as animals. We've been waiting for this day because they're not ruling over us anymore. Like a lot of those books that we brought in here at one time and a few times and showing you how we were ruling over all them areas. Okay, like books like the Icons and all of that, them books that we were bringing in, showed you all those pictures, showed you all that royalty.
This is another Negro village in France. It was called the World Fair, where nude or semi-nude black women and children were presented in cages. Let's take a look at it. Look at that. And white people, oh, look at her, look. So the Bible is the only true book. You ain't not going to read about what we just read in Lamentations. Now we have picture to words to explain the atrocities they did. Black Africans are shown participating in archery in 1904 in St. Louis at an event whites organized called the Savage Olympics Exhibition. Savage Olympics. And all the whites sit around and mock and laugh at us. And those are children, those are boys, little boys, maybe 13, 12. Those are Israelites, exactly. A Negro village similar to P.T. Barnum's exhibition of Joyce Heath, an enslaved African-American who was blind and almost completely paralyzed. Barnum lied to the visitors, saying she was the 160-year-old nurse of President George Washington.
I got to ask a question. When I saw the name Barnum, is that, yes, that's exactly what I'm thinking about. Anybody have any idea that this might be connected? If this might be one of the people that of it.
Exactly.
See, can't let stuff like that go by. Y'all sitting up there in the circus jumping up and down, watching. Don't even realize that this is the origin of it.
Right. So again, what are we looking at? A zoo. Human zoos. Who were the animals? We were. Let's go to the next one. Pygmy. Now, a pygmy is like what? Maybe 3'8" and below. These are not pygmies. Pygmies were made to dance during numerous exhibitions to entertain visitors at zoos in both Germany and England. Let's take a look at the picture. Look at all the white folks in the background. And the blacks had to dance around. Let's go to the next one. Now that today y'all dance willingly. This is a sorry. This is a Somali exhibit at Luna Park in St. Petersburg, Russia. I thought they didn't have black people in Russia, but like Deacon Yawasat was saying, we ruled Russia. When they conquered us, what do you think, we just disappeared? They put us in zoos, they put us in slavery, and many of them they sent over here as slaves. This is the evidence right here. We was ruling over there in Russia and they made us slaves. Why are black people in Russia? I didn't know there were even black people in Russia.
What the caption say up under that picture? Where is it at?
This is a Somalia village exhibit at Luna Park in St. Petersburg, Russia. So they did a reenactment in Russia like it was a Somali village. So the people there, those slaves there, that was us. And where are they? A zoo. A human zoo. Let's go to the next one. A black African mother is shown with her child in a Negro village. So that's a mother and child, where everybody came to look at her. And you know they love touching your hair. Ooh, that hair. They think you're going to get a blessing from it. Let's get the next one. At the Parisian, that's Paris World Fair. Parisian is Paris World Fair. This was a part of the 1931 exhibit that was so successful that it drew 34 million people that year. So if 34 million people just paid $1 to get in, or even a penny to get in, that's a lot of money they made off to see Negroes. Look at that. Let's go down to the next one. A black mother and her child at a Negro village in Germany. This exhibit was known to be very popular and was even visited by conservative statesman Otto von Bismarck. Let's see the picture. Look at that. Germany. So that was it. That was it.
When y'all get a chance, go through your video and look up Going Many Days, what is it, iconoclasm. Go through that video so y'all know what I was talking about when I talk about that we rule all these places. That'll help put into perspective what we're talking about when it comes to these pictures and ruling over there in Europe.
This is why we said that not we said, but that tree, that eugenics tree, showed history was a part of eugenics, which is white supremacy. It says, we still lie about slavery. Here's the truth about how the American economy and power were built on forced migration and torture. By the early 20th century, America's first generation of professional historians were justifying the exclusion of Jim Crow and disenfranchisement by telling a story about the nation's past of slavery and civil war that seemed to confirm for many white Americans that white supremacy was just and necessary. Above all, the historians of a reunified white nation insisted that slavery was a pre-modern institution that was not committed to profit-seeking. In so doing, historians were to some extent only repeating pre-Civil War debates. Abolitionists had depicted slavery not only as a psychopathic realm of whipping, rape, and family separation, but also as a flawed economic system that was inherently less efficient than the free labor capitalism developing in the North. Pro-slavery writers disagreed about the psychopathy, but by the 1850s, they agreed that enslavers were first and foremost not profit seekers. For them, planters were caring masters who considered their slaves to be inferior family members. So although anti- and pro-slavery conclusions about slavery's morality were different, their premise about slavery as a business model matched. Both agreed that slavery was inherently unprofitable. It was an old, static system that belonged to an earlier time. Slave labor was inefficient to begin with. Slave productivity did not increase to keep pace with industrialization, and enslavers did not act like modern profit-seeking business.
The reason why it's taking that approach is because that's what history is teaching in the schools. It's teaching that slavery was a waste of time for America. But understand that America was founded in 1776. They emancipated in 1865. That's over 60 years of slavery. That's how the nation became the most powerful nation on the planet in only 60 years of existence. So now they're taking the approach by teaching that it was a waste of time, it was unprofitable. That's what they're telling you right now. But watch when it switches the tone and tells you the real sense of things.
Just to go along with that point, because I actually heard a Klansman say the same thing, that he was trying to, there was an argument going on a talk show, and the guy was talking about he was being against slavery, and one guy was saying that he was for it. So the Klansman said that the detriment of what slavery did was it retarded the advances of technology. So going back to your point, but just BS. Slavery is what got everything. It set the foundation for the Industrial Revolution. What are they talking about?
Basically, what the article is going over is that the BS that the schools are teaching is to twist what really happened.
Right.
Everyone tries to make it seem like the northern states were justified in what they were doing. But in actuality, they were trying to get the southern states to industrialize, but the southern states were making too much money off of slavery. That's why they seceded. They said, to hell with that, we don't need the northern states, we're making all this money. Now,
that's what brought on the Civil War.
Right. Now, how the slaves started getting emancipated was when they started attacking the South, they started collecting the slaves. When the southern owners started walking up to the northern, what do they call them, battalions that had the slaves, they were demanding the slaves because that was their property. But the northerners said, wait, this is collateral damage. This is war property. You can't have this back. So they let the slaves be free, and then they started collecting the slaves so that they would fight with them. So there was no moral reasons for them to emancipate the slaves. They saw an opportunity and they took it. Right, it was business. Then, based on that, they used all the money that they took off the slaves' back that they gained within those 60 years, bought machinery. Now they didn't need the slaves to be on the plantations anymore. They transferred that money into the machinery and industrialized the entire country.
Right.
And kept it moving.
Well, the same thing is going on now with the technological ages and the things that they're doing in the schools now, where a lot of the so-called low-end jobs, they're going to have to get rid of those people because they're not going to be able to keep up with the technology that the quote-unquote educational system is putting out here now. So we're back in the same boat again.
Manifest destiny. That's what the white man called it. They came upon this land and said they were predestined to take this land by force.
Right. Jeremiah 22:13.
The book of Jeremiah, chapter 22, verse 13. Woe unto him that buildeth his house by unrighteousness, and his chambers by wrong, that useth his neighbor's service without wages, and giveth him not for his work.
So did that happen to us, brothers? All right. So the Bible is the only true book. The only true book. They went to great lengths to erase our history, our greatness as the Israelites. They went to great, that's why we always say they spent trillions of dollars to keep this truth secret. So what you brothers and sisters are learning, hold on to it. Don't let it go. You'll be right back as a niggin' spick right overnight if you let this truth go. Captain?
Psalms 83, verse 4. They have said, come, and let us cut them off from being a nation.
So that's what we saw. They went to great lengths to erase our history. So far, they used us as gator bait. So far, they put us in zoos and made us a spectacle unto the world. Go ahead.
That the name of Israel may be no more in remembrance.
Now give me Matthew 11:25.
The book of Matthew, chapter 11, verse 25. At that time,
listen good. Come on.
At that time, Jesus answered and said, I thank thee, O Father, Lord of heaven and earth, because thou hast hid these things from the wise and prudent, and has revealed them unto babes.
So we're the babes. The babes are the apostles. The babes are the followers, the students of Jesus the Christ. What he has revealed unto us in his Bible has not been revealed to nobody else. Read it again.
At that time, Jesus answered and said, I thank thee, O Father, Lord of heaven and earth, because thou hast hid these things from the wise and prudent.
When you meet many of these black historians, even the white ones, they cannot go into the Bible and show us our history. Only you brothers can do that thing. Why? Because it's been hidden from these black preachers, these black Rhodes scholars. They don't know what they're talking about. Only you have the anointing to go into the Bible and show them who we are, the atrocities we went through as a people, and what we need to do to be redeemed and delivered. Read it again.
At that time Jesus answered and said, I thank thee, O Father, Lord of heaven and earth, because thou hast hid these things from the wise and prudent, and hast revealed them unto babes.
We are the babes, okay? Good. Sirach 3, verse 23.
The book of Sirach, chapter 3 and verse 23. Be not curious in unnecessary matters, for more things are showed unto thee.
There's many of us are so worried. I wonder how do you weigh fire? How did God really create man? His word ain't good enough. We really spend our time trying to figure out things beyond our strength. Read that again.
Be not curious in unnecessary matters, for more things are showed unto thee than men understand.
The bit that God has shown unto us is greater than men understand. But to some of us, the Bible is not good enough. You go out seeking inventions, then get lost in La La Land, in cuckoo land. You end up crazy as hell. Stay in this Bible. This Bible has all you need to get to salvation. This Bible can open the blind eyes. Give me that. And 1 Corinthians 1:21. This Bible is what's going to save our people from this final destruction that's coming.
Look at the great things that's being done right now, just in Israel. Or just use this congregation as an example. All of the things that we're moving and doing with organization of different aspects of the nation. None of that could come together without the Bible.
Right.
You understand? None of this would even exist if we were not following the guidelines in this book. That's how heavy this book is. This book has brought into reality everything that you see, and then some. And it's so much further to go exponentially. You with me, Captain Joshua? Exponentially. Levels that you can't even imagine. Go ahead.
Read that, Captain.
1 Corinthians chapter 1, verse 21. For after that, in the wisdom of God, the world by wisdom knew not God. It pleased God by the foolishness of preaching to save them that believe.
So God chose the foolishness of preaching to save our people. It's not going to be a man rising up and doing this and that, come up with a great economic plan. That ain't going to happen. The Bible says the foolishness of preaching is what's going to save the people. Y'all understand that?
Shalom, Israel. I'm Elder Nathaniel, Israel United in Christ. YouTube likes to shut our channels down, as some of you have noticed, ever so often. Subscribing to join IUIC will assure you will always stay connected to our YouTube accounts. We want to do our best to make sure this truth gets out. Please click and join our subscriber YouTube channel called Join IUIC to stay linked to all of our videos. So again, please make sure you subscribe to this Join IUIC channel to get your latest updates from all our YouTube channels. Shalom.